I've been on the front lines for a few days now across Twitter. I genuinely want you to watch this video to actually get an idea of how and what it is like and how like a person actually becomes trans. I'm here to address transphobia across the internet right now, especially Twitter, and it really really hurts me to just look across like Twitter to see what's happening. For context on my experience with the entire situation, I am a 18-year-old adult that has turned 18 on December 5th, 2024. And before that, I was a transgender individual currently residing in the United States. Now, I just want to address like multiple things I've seen across the internet, and it really hurts me because not only how do I have to fight for myself in my own home, after becoming an adult, I have to also fight the entire world for just supporting the cause and supporting my existence. Because I was trans when I was a minor, so that means that I'm considered a trans kid, or I was considered a trans kid. But to the internet's norms and terms, I don't exist to uh most people on the internet. It's like let kids be kids, but at the same time, it's like let kids actually be able to choose for what they want in the future. Because when I was a minor, I suffered from severe gender dysphoria because I was like, I just listen to my story. Hear me out. When I was a kid, I've always thought that it would be better if if I was just born female. I used to have a lot of thoughts, a lot of like childhood imaginations. Like it's not like it's like very pure. It's just I wanted to be cute. I wanted to be pretty. I was jealous of other born girls who were just like how they were. That is the beginning of my story. Is I got jealous. I looked at myself and I wasn't fully happy with it. I suppressed it for years because I was born in an Asian household where if I said anything like that, I know nothing good is gonna come from it. That's the thing. I was born in a very Eastern Asian household. I was not born in the United States. I actually immigrated over to the United States, but I was born 100% Asian with no American influence background. So nothing, absolutely nothing. I had zero influence on what I thought. I've never seen anything about, quote, woke culture. I've never seen anything about it. I just honestly thought when I was a child, like this is when I was like, this is like 6, 7 years old, that it would be better to live my life if I was just a born female. Like there would have been like so much better thoughts of like myself, right? And as I slowly became older, I still haven't like fully like checked out like what like I've seen because I got curious, right? Like I googled, I used Google to like figure out, oh, transgender people exist. I got really curious. I was like, when I was like around like 11, I was like, you can like change your gender. I did more research on it. I was like, oh, this is not exactly what I want because like I wouldn't actually be like, because we all know at the end of the day, like I knew that when I chose this, or when I thought of this path, right? Like we're not biological females at the end of the day. Like we will never be biological females, right? Because because unfortunately we can't, because that's what's decided at birth. But I think the biggest thing for a transgender person from my complete experience over the past like years is that like transitioning and being treated like a girl like socially is like really the biggest appeal. And it's like you get to actually like show yourself off femininely and embrace femininity, right? That's like the biggest thing. That's honestly why I thought like Like, because I had a lot of thoughts about, like, what if I became trans? But, like, at the same time, I know I would be fighting against the world. I know everybody would be looking down on me. I know that it's awful, right? It's like, it's not a great thing. It's like, but the thing is, at the same time, gender dysphoria, right? Like, at one point when I was like 14 through 16, before I decided to become trans, I was literally suffering to the thought every day that maybe I was better off just dead, and that life isn't worth living because I wasn't born female. In that, like, in that, like, I severely believed I had, or like, I severely wished that there was reincarnation, because the feelings I had literally led all to, I wish I could just be dead and, like, wake up tomorrow as a girl, or just magically wake up tomorrow. I would pray, like, every night that, like, I would pray. Like, I didn't, like, believe in any religion, but I would try to pray to, like, every god I know, right? Like, all the Asian ones, all the, like, Christian ones, like all the gods, basically, like, that I can, like, think of on the top of my head. I'm like, please, please, either kill me and have me wake up, like, tomorrow as a girl, or just magically replace my life into, like, I don't know, like, there was, like, a thing on, like, that I really wanted to believe in, but unfortunately I know it's, like, not really likely, but multiple universes of you, but different. And I honestly wish that, like, my mental, like, could just wake up in another alternate body where I was actually just female. Because at one point I had to deny myself so many times of being trans, because I saw how horrible it is, and how horrible trans people are treated. But I've never actually ever met a trans person until I was 16. And here it is. I'm gonna address the tweets about egg cracking. So, Rev's community, and I've been taking a look, like, it's the things they're saying about, like, oh, I'm a victim, or like whatever. But the thing is, they've only saw one screenshot of me saying that I got help with my egg crack when I was 16, and they're automatically putting me as a victim, and trying to tell me that supporting it means that I'm a groomer and I'm a pedophile, right? Like, this doesn't make any sense, because first, you've never read my entire story. And second, how does that make me a pedophile? How does that make me a groomer? I just support people who are just like me. Not because, you see, this is the biggest thing, is trans people, you cannot turn someone trans unless they actually suffer from gender dysphoria. Because if someone is happy about being themselves, being their own gender, right? Being their gender, being their current gender, right? Those are what we call cis people, right? Cis people are happy with their own gender and don't want or wish to change it. And that's the thing. How often do you question yourself on being the other gender? Do you question, like, do you wish, like, as severe as I am for my gender dysphoria, that I wish I was dead every single day? I didn't have motivation to do anything with my entire life. I just wanted my life to go to waste so I could die faster. That's what gender dysphoria felt like for me. That's what it felt like. I wish I died faster so I can feel better in my next life if I was born female. Now, that is if I was. And that is if next lives are a thing. But I completely just gave up on my own life here. I suffered. I failed my education. I didn't have any motivation to do anything. I just crashed and dumped my emotions into playing video games every single day with no productivity to freaking, like, society or anything. And and I was just and I was just no, I was just 14. I was just 15. And that's how I felt. And that's how I felt. And now people are trying to deny me of my existence because I was a trans kid and I had my egg crack. Like, the thing about egg cracking is, like, every time, like, someone talks about egg cracking, I genuinely don't think it's like that, because how I had mine cracked in the first experience. It's like, I suffered gender dysphoria throughout like multiple like younger years of my life. I I I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know what it was like to be trans. So when I met a trans person, I was like, I got really jealous for how they can embrace themselves. Right? I was like, how can you embrace yourself, present yourself that way, and be like, oh yeah, I want to be treated like a girl now because that's just who you are. And and for me, I was just like, I'm never gonna achieve anything like that because I was just born male. I have to accept the fact I was born male, so I'd better off be dead. But genuinely, like, I'm looking and I'm seeing everything. I'm just like, how? Yeah, I genuinely, I just contacted them I like this is like the first time I actually met a transgender person, and like I genuinely thought like life would have been horrible for you if you're trans, like because like how people would treat you, and like you're just like because like at like basically at school or something like that, we'll always make like jokes about stuff like that, and it's like it's really messed up, but at the same time, it's just like people really. I can see that people really don't like that, and had to shut my own thoughts down for a really decent while because it was like, is this really normal? Can I just wish it away? But but at the end of the day, right? It's just it's horrible to suffer through gender dysphoria because and then act like you're normal. And then it's like you have to pretend like this is who you are, but in reality, you just wish you were dead. That is and like you don't have like faith in living and continuing and living your life anymore. That's what gender dysphoria does to a person. Like severe gender dysphoria. If it gets even more severe, I think some people would just straight up commit suicide. I genuinely think that too. Like it really does suck, and like yeah, especially when I was just a minor. I shouldn't be like suffering through all of that, but like that's just how it was, and didn't bother telling anyone about my feelings because I was scared. And when I met this trans person, I talked to them about it. I asked questions. Right? I didn't they didn't initiate to me. Like I literally went to talk to them. I was like, this is how I felt about my entire life. This is my story. Like, what's wrong? Is something wrong with me? Or like, because like, I asked them what do you need to be considered as trans, right? Because like, I see the trans people, they're already transitioned. They're like, and the thing is, I know that like, if you become trans, you need to take HRT. I'm scared. Like, because of all the side effects I saw. Like, do you need to have surgeries? Do you need to like do everything like blah blah blah? But they told me my answers that like a trans person is just someone who suffers from gender dysphoria and is not happy with themselves, and that they just want to be like they just wish that they were born the other gender, or they want to be the other gender, or they want to be treated like the other gender, right? And they want to be like that instead of who they are now, and they suffer from dysphoria because of that, and so they proceeded with becoming trans. And the first step is just like accepting yourself as trans, right? It's like how do you crack an egg of someone is just answer. They're like how to crack an egg really is just like or having their egg cracked is you don't get your egg cracked if you're already cis and happy with your gender. That can't happen. You can't turn a trans person. You can't turn a normal person into a trans person. That doesn't work because the normal person never had those thoughts of being the other gender to begin with severely. Like they could have like been curious about it, but they would have never ever wanted it that badly. As a trans person, I've wanted it so badly that I just kind of gave up my life because I knew that I was never gonna get it. But now the fact that I can see that, oh, maybe I'll be happier if I lived this way, right? Maybe I'll be happier if I live this way. It's like, oh, right? It's like I'm here addressing my feelings and how I feel as like like as a person who's seen everything. Like I've been a trans minor, I've been a trans adult, I've suffered through gender dysphoria, I've seen all like the sides, I've seen everything. Like I was told I was confused by others, like on the internet. Now that I've like told my story, I was just told I was confused. I'm not confused. I was never confused. I'm willing to give up my life and like my entire future for just wanting to be what I want instead of just denying myself and my body and my happiness and like seeing myself as just. I wish I was feminine. I wish I was prettier. I wish I wished I had all the things that a girl could have, but I never could have gotten it until now, where I'm just going through my transition, and the world seems to really hate us for figuring out who we are, because at the end of the day, they just want all the thoughts of those people to go down and have everyone put a mask on and just be their normal, even though those people would probably have just ended themselves for not being able to get what they wish to live as. Like the new the new presidency, new politics, whatever, it's gonna cause a lot of people to end themselves because people don't aren't happy and won't live the way they want to live. And it the thing is, it was an option, it was close, it's not far away, right? It's like it's an option to not have to live as the thing you don't want to be and like for the rest of your life, and just commit to it, and then be like, oh yeah, I'm so happy, but in reality you just don't care and don't want to live a life anymore. And it genuinely hurts me, but egg cracking is basically celebrating. If you crack someone's egg, right? It's like you should be celebrating for them for discovering who they are. Because at the end of the day, cracking eggs is the celebration of a trans person finally finding out that they are who they are after ages of suffering and self-questioning and self-doubt and like hating yourself and like wanting to kill yourself and just like stuff like that. Like it genuinely makes the person feel so warm and well when they find out that those thoughts and questions and stuff like that were valid, and that like you do have the chance to be who you want to be if you just commit to this route, and that like you can feel happy for yourself. And the more you go down this route, the more happy you feel about yourself, really. It really is. The more self-realization that, oh, I've actually always wanted to be like this my entire life, instead of committing to just being this, right? Or like the thing before, like for me, I'm male to female, right? I've I I never wanted to live my life as a guy. I really don't. Right? I wish I was a cute girl. That's my honest dream. It's like I wish I was a cute girl and treated like a cute girl and be able to find love as a cute girl. That's honestly the biggest dream. It's like I really just want to be myself and be able to find love along that, instead of pretending to be a dude and like, oh yeah, yeah, pretending and being like, and just being a guy. Just honestly, I know it's like people who are cis are happy with their gender, but like I wasn't happy about mine. I didn't want to be a guy. None of the life of a guy appealed to me. Like, and I wasn't happy with like the body type of a dude. Like I genuinely wasn't. I wished I looked cute. I wished I looked feminine. I wish I was just feminine. Like, and that's like the biggest wish. right? I'm just sitting down and talking about this, and it's like it genuinely hurts when I see that like people are just addressing us as like people who are crazy and mentally ill and like trans people and like trans minors and kids, whatever. Like it's just delusional. And like I have empathy for other minors too because like the other trans minors I've come across some by the way when I was around 16, 17 when I was doing going through my transition, and it genuinely like I felt awful for everyone else too. That was like they couldn't get the things they needed. They couldn't feel right in their own body. They couldn't feel right, and a lot of them have like a lot of like stuff related with self harm and like suicide and whatnot. And it's like they just have. We all have to wait. We all have to go through this long wait of just becoming an adult because a minor's thoughts is irrelevant, right? A kid can't think for themselves and can't decide what they want to be. That's what the world has told us is that minors can't think. Minors don't have the capability to think. In reality, we can think just as well as most adults, if not even better, right? We are capable of thinking for ourselves. We are capable of deciding our own future. It's not just adults who can think properly. Like sure, like you have a more developed prefrontal cortex, but that doesn't mean that our thoughts are validated, right? Because we still can think. Like you had consciousness when you were a child. You clearly knew that. So what stops other people that are minors to stop to like not have their own consciousness and how they want to be and how they want to grow up? Because we're like the trans minors I've met, we're so close to being adults that like we should be able to decide like how we want to live. Like we're so close. We're like basically practically an adult at this point. Like sure, we do dumb stuff. But like at the same time, we wish our futures is like what we want to live. And now that I'm an adult, I'm finally able to like actually live like and try to commit to this life, right? And but it honestly hurts to see other minors being shut down for their thoughts and validation, for their existence and how they feel, to just be shut down by people like transphobic people and right wingers saying that your thoughts are just delusional, invalid, and incorrect, and you're just confused. We're not confused. We know what we want, but you won't let us have it. That's literally it. And it's like cracking eggs should be celebrated because it it's about asking questions about yourself and how others who have went through it. And it's like once you figure out who you are and if that's what you want to be, that's when your egg cracks, and that's why it should be celebrated because you and the other person who you talk to both celebrate about cracking eggs. Like you shouldn't force someone to become trans. You shouldn't, because it won't work at the end of the day, and you can't force someone to become trans because at the end of the day it's their thoughts, right? It's their thinking of like, oh, I want to take these pills, oh, I want to have these surgeries, oh, I want to do this, I want to dress femininely, I want to like grow my hair, I want to have cute nails, I want to dress in cute clothes, it's at the end of the day, you can't force someone to be trans. You can't force someone to become the other gender. You can't. That's what people are confused at. You literally can't confuse. Like, they have to do it by self will. If they're cis, you can never ever convert them. You just can't. Like, sure, you can like convert them like forcefully. Like, there's history like that where Thailand children were fed pills to make them more like that at a young age so they can like, because in during like a war or somewhat not, and then like sure you can change their way, but nowadays people who become trans aren't forced. They aren't forced. It's literally based off of how you feel. Like you nobody's gonna shove pills down your mouth till or like force feed you pills and then tell you to become a girl. Like that's not gonna happen anymore. It's like you only decide that for yourself. It's like I have these pills now. Do I want to take them? Right? I have HRT now. Do I want to take them? Oh, I have these cute clothes. Do I want to wear them? Oh, do I want to have short hair? Do I want to have long hair? Oh, maybe or if you're trans masculine, it goes the other way, right? It's like, do I want to look masculine? Do I want to be buff? Do I want to whatever, what not? You can't force someone to be trans. And that's like the biggest thing. You can't force someone to be trans. And that's why it's important to acknowledge the existence of trans minors. Trans minors do exist because they suffer through gender dysphoria. And I'm a prime example of what was a trans minor. I wasn't groomed into this. This was all my own feelings. I only had help to feel comfortable into admitting to them. And that's honestly I have to say. It's like people don't understand from like the front line of the story. It's like, do cis people know what is it like to be trans? No, you don't. You don't have you don't have anything to say on how to like what a trans person feels or like why a person is trans and like how trans actually works. You don't know that. You don't know any of that. Like like transphobes and right wingers only think, oh, trans people will turn my children trans. Your children can't be turned trans if they're not already trans. They just know that, like, the best thing that a trans person can do is let them know that this option exists if you ever feel like you have gender dysphoria, that you don't want to live anymore because of your own gender, that you can indeed be like us. And if you're not suffering from that, why would you be trans in the first place? Because becoming trans puts yourself in suffering in the first place. There's no benefit in being trans. People will look down at you. People will be disgusted at you. People will hate you. And yeah, I still became this way because I want to be happy with myself. I don't care about what others think because I want to be happy myself. And like trans people will not normal people will not become trans if it's because why would they put it themselves in our shoes and 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 get hated by the world because normal people know that. And that's honestly what hurts. It's not like seeing across everything and everything, every platform and stuff, and people just hate us because of a few individuals that had wrongs when I didn't even do anything. I just spoke up about myself. And some trans people don't even speak up about themselves. They never shown their existence like, to the world at all, barely. And then whenever a trans person does anything wrong, it's automatically targeted towards like trans people. It's like, oh, yeah, this person's trans and they did this thing. It's like, oh, this person's trans and they're a pedophile. Yeah, and pedophiles with cis people exist too, but they're just considered as pedophile. But if you're a trans pedophile, automatically you're automatically something special. And then like, oh, all trans people are pedophiles, and it's like it goes to that point where it's like, oh, trans people are probably just pedophiles. Like, what in the world? Like, that's like saying if a man is a pedophile, that all men are pedophiles. Like what? And like it's just like there's so many issues that like I was a minor and I had to fight my own home for how I want to be. And now I'm an adult. I have to fight the entire world for how I want to be. And this is awful. What? So like honestly, I wish the world could be kinder to trans people. But like you need to hear out like the stories of trans people, and like I think that should be the like biggest thing about trans people. It's like that's like you have to hear their stories, and that's how they should be represented, not just like someone who's someone who's just, you know, like there should be more voices speaking for the trans people. That's honestly what it is. I'm happy to sit down and talk and addressing all these problems, but I don't think it's wrong to have eggs cracked and whatnot. And I don't think it's wrong for minors to be trans. I don't think it's anything wrong, right? Like it's not it's not the parents' fault that the kid is trans. It's literally the kid's own choices. The parents can deny them or accept them. My parents don't really accept it. I mean, they kind of denied it at first, but now they don't really accept it. But I exist anyway. But but parents get to decide if they want to accept their child for how they feel, or if they wanna if they wanna deny them and just toss them away and see them as disgrace. But at the end of the day, there's not a lot of trans people out there. Like there's less than you think. Like being trans is like one in 100,000, or one in a really low chance of being trans. It's like super low because usually people are happy with what they got, and people are happy with it, but some people aren't. And it all starts in their own mind. It doesn't start by someone else telling them. It always starts in their own mind. And that's honestly what I have to say. Is you can't turn normal people trans. Trans people will become trans themselves at one point. There are some bad examples that exist that I also don't support, but telling minors that it's okay if they ever have thoughts like this, if they ever feel like how I felt, if they ever suffered what I went through, then it's okay to be you. It's an option. You should be loud about how you feel, and you should be allowed to live as how you want and be happy with yourself. And that's what I want to say. Thank you for listening.